So I will let Priscilla Marara here and Antoine Favreau come, please. They have come here to prepare a presentation for us. Why? Because Fiona Pratt finally has worked on a few BBI projects, and the idea was at least to present to you a summary of what has been done.
So first of all, thank you for welcoming us to this event. We are very glad to be here with you. I know you are probably hungry, so we will do it very fast. So I am Priscilla. I am the Global Account Manager for Bouygues Construction Group for 8 years now. And Antoine will present himself so after that for the presentation. What is strange here on this picture is not that it is pixelized, it's that any kind of pixel here is a picture from the Sportster project. So one of the projects we have been handling along with Final Cap. So let's start about the presentation. So thank you, Brian, for the presentation you have made. It's glad to have been working with you too. What is important to remember here is that what is this digital transformation a success is because it has been driven by the quality management people, and this is very important for that. But not also because it's also 5 years that we have been making meetings, working along teams work about harmonization, as we are going to present you, and also our strategy is based on 3 main facts and 3 pillars. The first one is about digitizing your processes, your business processes. Every project is different, we know that, and so it's very important to work together about that. The first is about the best experience, user experience, and digitize your business processes, quality, security, and so on. We're already working about that. The second one is about the change management. Change management is one of the best pillars that we are working along, because we knew that there are other project solutions for that, but the 2 last ones, change and data, are very compulsory to get digital transformation to be a success. And so this is customized change to accompany the teams and the data, which are indicators to better drive the quality on site. So, okay, this is a problem of, thank you. There is a problem. We had actually the flags and the projects, so we have been working along with BBI since 2013, and also to get this similar approach with some of projects. As you can see here below, there are any kind of project, different type of project and size of project, big project for BBI, hospitals, sports stadiums, hotel, etc. But one common point about this project is that we have to analyze the data, and the data collected from the field will be the key to manage the quality. So I'll let Antoine introduce the insights we have about BBI projects.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Antoine Favreau. I'm in charge in Finalcat of a team of data analysts and data engineers. We love to help our clients to find solutions to take the control on what is happening on sites. And I must say that production systems on sites are just lovely problems. First of all, because they are based on human, so there is a lot of complexity here to manage. But at the same time, you can identify in every single project, or at the level of the company, or at the level of business units, trends and patterns that help us to make some pretty accurate predictive analysis on what is going on site. So we are working on different kind of problems, whether they are linked to linear schedule management or safety risk management. And I will say today a few words about quality. So one people on site are using Final Cut, the first thing we are doing is to identify every single units, zones, technical areas of your project, just because it's what really matters for your clients. It's just to be delivered with functional zones. And what we notice, of course, is that for most of the BBI projects, we have like 10 more zones to be managed compared to what is being done with BBAT. And it just adding a lot of complexities to the different quality management processes. And people on site are that they just can't waste time traveling between the zones, the facilities, the site facilities. They just want information as quick as possible. And this is the reason why they are using such tools as Final Cut. And when you're looking at the data, you can definitely see that, that the solution is being used on a daily basis. Okay, so here you have figures taken from the National Stadium building in the sports project. The solution was used during more than 200 days on a daily basis, and it enabled us to collect thousands of defects. And because, and I should say, like, thanks to this daily use, we are able to measure continuous improvements. And from the data, continuous improvement is not just an idea or a concept, you can actually measure that. So here you have data collected from Les Faubourgs d'Enfants project, a Morocco project. You can see that so each dot, okay, is a day of inspection, and you can see that just the number of issues of defects by zone is just decreasing with time. But what I like in this graph is that you can measure, of course, continuous improvement, but you can measure as well the time it takes before you reach this point. And in this project, the team had to go through 25% of the zones before being able actually to get through a quality improvement and reduce the number of issues by trade. So the question is, I mean, how do you get this period shorter? Okay, how do you move from 25% of the zones to 5%? And the global question is, I mean, you have a lot of data collected from the site, and the question is, how are you using this data once projects end? I mean, does the data deserve to end in such archive boxes, locked in dark rooms? Of course not. And one of the first things you could do to value the data is to help user experience, and you could speed up user experience of people who are creating defects on site. And I will tell you how. I mean, you will see it's very simple. When you are using a solution like Final Cut to create or to identify problems on site, you first need to select a defect description out of the list of defects. Okay? And we are calling this list of defects a defect library. And the whole challenge is to know what will the most appropriate defect library that will speed up the searching phase of when the user is creating a defect. Okay, and this can be done very easily just looking at the defects which are not being used, the defects for which we are measuring recurring occurrences, and we end with the kind of optimized library, which eventually ends up with our very fast creation process. But this is not the only benefit, okay, of using data. One of the other benefits is that it can help you to detect global problems which are occurring across all of the projects. Okay? Here are the results of what has been done with HAS. So I won't go into detail of this graph, but what you have to know is that basically every column is a project. Okay, every line is a trade, and each box is a number of defects for one specific type of defect in one project. So if this huge table is white, it just means that you do not share any defects and that every single project is unique. Okay. But when you are defining defect differentials, actually what you can measure is that 40% of the defects were shared across every project of HAS. And it works, of course, for when you are comparing similar buildings, like social housings. But the same goes for BBI projects. And their skirts and baseboard tiles are, sorry, there's a typo here, as a matter of fact, at risk everywhere. And it's not just because, actually just because, defects are much more like trade dependent than building dependent, okay? So these skirt issues occurred on sports hub, on Darasa, on hospitals, on airports, etc., etc. When you are doing that, when you're trying to look for like global problems, it happens, of course, that the first issues which are identified by your clients are related to cleaning or painting touch-ups. Okay, so on this graph, every blue dot is a type of defect. Okay, we represented the defects on 2 dimensions. The first one is the number of zones in one project which has been which were impacted by the defects, and the other dimension is the number of defects. Okay. And when you are doing that for one specific project, like for Bourg-d'Enfants, a Morocco project, it turns out that you have like this massive amount of defects which are related to cleaning and paintings, and it would be highly interesting. It would be really interesting to compute. I mean, to move from this type of insight to a much more quantitative evaluation of the quality based on an index, okay, that would take into account this massive amount of defects. At the same time, you have here defects with much less occurrences, and you don't want to, and you do want to identify the problems that will have a huge user experience and user experience impacts. Okay, one example one example of this type of problem is just imagine you are the client at the end of the stage. You are jumping into a room. You want to switch on the lights, but wow, the switchers is just behind the door. Okay, so fortunately it doesn't happen all the times, but you definitely want to detect this type of problems to avoid bad quality perception by your clients. Okay, if you want to be able to detect such defects, the first thing you need to do is, of course, to classify your defects based on every trace, so that you can get insights on masonry works, ceiling, metal and timber doors, and electricity. So now I'm going to dig into the electrical trade to see what we can say about this type of defects. the first electrical defect in Sports Hub for the National Stadium was lights that had to be fixed. And it's really interesting to note that lights were actually in this project installed at a pretty early stage. So they were used during the constructions, and eventually in 25% of the zones they start to crash. And from this type of figures, you can definitely have a much more better understanding on how maintenance and operations of the building will go. So in time-lasting projects, the construction data can actually be used to get a much more better understanding of the maintenance phase. So this is the first insight. The second type of defects, which were identified in the national stadium, was missing labeling on electrical equipment. And given the thousands and thousands of equipment in this project, identifying missing labels just turned to be a real nightmare for people. Okay? But just imagine how we could move from this nightmare to an opportunity for during the maintenance phase. Just imagine that instead of taking a picture of every single missing labels, you would take a picture each time a label is actually placed on one equipment. You would just end up with a full inventory of your work that you could be delivered to the clients for zero cost. Third insight, the third main problem regarding electricity in the National Stadium project was missing cover on electrical casings. Okay, and when we had a look on the zones where these cover were missing, we just realized that the engineer on site told us that it was mainly on rooms that were locked with the door, and there were like only 4 people on site with the keys. So from a logistic point of view, it was very difficult to manage. Okay, the other reasons was because of the missing cover at a high level. So they needed to use these scissor lifts that were not all the time available. So at the end of the phase, of course, they just ends up with thousands of missing covers. And it's just a way to, what's interesting here is that you can identify critical zones on your projects that should have a dedicated plan in terms of maintenance. Okay, so it's a third learning and insight where we are thinking that we can turn this risk management during construction into opportunity for operation and maintenance. Now, I'd just like to say a few words about the planning, about the schedule, and how you can get control of it, looking at the data and looking at the rates of how things are happening. So here, you can see for one project the number of issues, the number of defects, okay, which are created during the project. Okay, the green line is the number of solved issues. Okay, so the difference between the two of them is the orange area represents the issues to be solved, of course, during the project. What is interesting here is that it took 60 days of the production team before starting fixing the issues. Okay, and this 60 days delay was very difficult to catch up, to catch up by the teams. So, it's a straightforward conclusion is just to delegate team as soon as possible to solve these issues in the project to avoid this issue accumulation. But looking at the issues is not really the most relevant indicator. And you know, we have this story of a site engineer who was asked by his manager the number of defects that were solved at the end of each week. So the young engineers were so happy to say, okay, yes, well, this week we've solved 100 electrical issues. So the manager was like, wait, wow, that's great. So now, how many zones can I deliver to the client? So the project was under huge pressure. So the handover phase, during the handover phase, they were really interested in knowing which zones they could deliver to the clients each week. And the site engineer was like, oh, okay, so this week I solved 100 issues, but actually we cannot deliver any new zone to the client. And of course, I mean, it's like the guy just solves the issues widespread all over the project, but a new zone never came out. So when you're looking at, instead of looking at the issues and the way they are solved, you can look at the number of zones and the number of inspected zones in your project, and you can track how many zones are delivered each day. And you notice, I mean, for this specific project, a 45 days delay between the starting point of fixing issues and zones. So to get an accurate precision of the end of the handover phase of the project, you should look at zones instead of issues, actually. And this is why the initial zoning of your project is key to get an accurate indicator. So we looked at, among the different BPI projects, this timeliness, okay, the number of days it took to solve 95% of the zones. And we ended up with these results. So I took 4 projects, 2 Turkmen projects, okay, the Turkmen Chemistry University, the Turkmen Conference Center, sponsored project, okay, with 255 days, and the Ridge Hospital, okay, in Ghana. And we just computed a simple ratio, which was the number of days it took for managing handover of 100 zones. And here the data, so 24 days, 31, 50, and 33 days. The conclusion is just that when you are managing handover on very large projects, handover should be like managed as the project inside the project, because it just takes too much. I mean, it just takes an incredible amount of time. And this is the main difference between large projects and smaller projects like social housing projects. So as a conclusion, please let me just remind you a few things. So we've seen that from the data you can now measure continuous enhancement. You can build referential to detect global problems out of all of your projects. You can compute quality index related to touch-up and cleaning issues to get to 5 stars from your clients. You can turn quality risks into opportunity for the operation and maintenance phase. And to manage handover, you should actually look at zones instead of issues. And it's my conclusion. So.
Just something to add. I think you remember we have workshops this afternoon. Who's in handover? Yeah. I hope you've been listening. Just to give you some ideas.
Yes, to conclude, so we have been talking about quality management, but let's go further. This is 3 samples of working process we are handling with Build Morocco. The first one is about making this quality control along with BIM on the tablet directly. Another one is about safety. We have been talking about safety also, so the general indicator of safety, so we are trying to make it daily. Finally, the lean progress, so on one of the projects that has been doing in paper, so this is the project. We will love to have you, you're being in love with Final Cut, so we are going to share a small video about experience and share of experience about using Final Cut for managing the quality.
A little parentheses, you noticed the safety IGS, that's something that was implemented on Bouscoura. Huh, Khalid? Oui. And what I understood was it wasn't easy to implement.
It's being yet implemented, we are working about it because it's a specific demand, so we are working with the team on this project.
Yes, thank you. Because
we used Final Cut about, I guess it was about a month ago. It's really helped us out here in the field.
Claro, es muy útil, ¿no? Nos va a quitar bastante horas de trabajo, ¿no?
一个是就是我们可以很快捷的通过区域来找寻那个我们的图纸，另外一个就是我们也可以通过扫描那个二维码来找我们相应的图纸的位置。
Ahora con Final Cut te vienen los papeles, es mucho sencillo y se hace desde campo.
だいたい約2時間ぐらいは、短縮になったと思います。
肯定是第一个，肯定是节约时间；第二个节约那个成本；第三个的话，可能就是这个团队啊，效率看起来就可能会比较高一点。
Ça nous permet d'avoir un retour d'expérience, de pouvoir mieux faire les choses sur les chantiers d'après et surtout de prendre une méthode de travail qu'on pourra réappliquer sur tous nos prochains chantiers.
With the smart solutions such as Final Cut, we can centralize all our data and share with all the projects, and we can get a value from the big data analysis.
能够很好的帮我们进行自动化，把数据能够及时的采集下来，用于后续的分析。
Ha sido fácil, de verdad, poder congeniar con la aplicación. No hemos tenido ningún inconveniente y bueno, adicionalmente que hemos tenido siempre el soporte de ustedes, ¿no?
Percentage of these frequent issues are getting reduced to 60% and 50%, and we are expecting much more lower figures in upcoming future.
No es posible cambiarnos, es posible guiarnos, es interactivo.
J'ai déjà cahier, j'en ai plus besoin, j'ai une tablette toute simple.
In the future, it looks like everybody's going to have it, because the ones that don't have it now, they're falling behind.
Ya no con papeles, todo va en